Hi, I'm Holly.
And I'm Charisse.
And welcome to the Ask Mom series on when to date. Another thing to consider, and this is something that I don't think a lot of teenage girls get talked about, get conversation about either, is that whatever's going on in your life right now or went on before in your life right now, you carry into your relationships. Your dad abandoned your family when you were really little, or your parents got divorced really young and you haven't had a lot of supervision, or you're currently going through something that's traumatic and has caused a lot of grief for you or whatever. All these things make you vulnerable to wanting love that maybe you didn't get before, or you're not getting now. And it can make you very vulnerable to the intentions of another boy when you're dating him. And I can't even tell you how many women or girls I've talked to that have come from something very troubled or difficult, and how they were able to equate that with how they were sexually in their teenage years, and what they allowed to go on that, if they were whole as a person, they might have made better or different choices. So if you have these kinds of situations in your past, it's okay to get some counseling. And get some help, or to tell your parents, I'm worried about how I might, if you have a communication with your parents that's good, say, there were some really hard things that happened in my childhood, and I want to make sure I can make good decisions later, and can you help me find somebody to talk to so that I can work out some of these issues, because now I'm a teenager and I know I look like I'm all okay, but I'm really maybe not, and very confused, and it can make you very vulnerable to how far you'll let a boy go because he says he loves you. And maybe you didn't hear that a lot from dad, or, that sort of thing. And so hearing it makes you feel really special and wonderful. And then he wants to continue on to do other things that also make you feel special and wonderful. And a month from now, he's going to break up with you. And all of a sudden you're living, dad abandoned us, all over again. And that can be played out in a million different scenarios. And so knowing that that's something you can look for can make you a healthier person, to get some help and to maybe not fall into that kind of a trap.
When I was in high school, and we went through those issues too of having that, having boyfriends and knowing where it could go. And I mean, I always knew in my head where my boundaries were. But I also looked at it too, even into college. Like, I mean, if you have sex with that person, chances are you could get pregnant. You may not, but you could get pregnant. So you have to look at that down the road, right? So now you're pregnant, just pretend. This is how I used to run it through in my head. If I had sex with that guy and I got pregnant, could I be with him for the rest of my life? Is what I would ask myself. And not in the sense that could I be married to him, because but in reality, he's the father of your child. And if he wants to have a relationship with that child and you decide to keep that child and, not put it up for adoption,
You're forever tied to him.
You're forever tied to him.
Yeah.
And do you really want to be that? That always made me stop. It would be pretty stressful for me and for my personality to have to go face my mom and my dad and say, guess what? That's hard. Those are hard words to say. And I'm not saying that my parents wouldn't have been supportive of me, but I was like, do I really want to go through that?
Right.
I don't want to put myself in that position. And so how do I not put myself in that position? There's plenty of other girls that were having sex, so I'm just not going to be that girl. They can go find somebody else if that's what they need, because I didn't want to put myself in that position.
Well, and I did date boys exclusively, and I found often that by 3 months we were broken up, and it was because I wasn't willing to go any further. And they needed to go take care of themselves, so they just found other girls who were willing to do that. And so, that's just reality of dating. And if you can think of your high school years in particular as your training ground and not as the final destination, this isn't where, it's not the end of the road, your senior year. Those high school years is where you learn how to handle relationships with the opposite sex so that you can be a healthy, whole individual as you enter college. And you're going to have another level of another 4 years of figuring out how to handle those relationships as someone who's becoming an adult. Because at the end of college, you're going to go into the workforce. And yet again, you know, so your high school, your middle school years, you're seeing guys and, oh, they're so cute. Oh, I like them and blah, blah, blah. In the high school years, you're going to be doing the same thing. And then your college years, you're going to be doing the same thing. And you're going to get out of college and you might have a career, or you might have things you really want to do with your life. And your life has just begun. You're in your 20s. It's just begun. And that's when now you have all this information that's added up in your brain to equal what kind of person makes me happy to be with. Doesn't complete me, because you're complete in your own self. If you've done it a really healthy way, you've learned that, you know, these are all the things that make up me. And that in itself makes me whole and complete. And I want someone to compliment me, to be alongside of me, that encourages me and that believes in all the wonderful things that I am, and I can believe in him and all the wonderful things he is. And we can get married now and start a life together. And that's...
And he has a good trust fund.
Trust funds are super.
Yeah, if he has a trust fund, you can get through a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's just, that's what you're looking for. All of this. I mean, that's, what, 8 years of foundation to figure out, well, what am I going to live with for probably the next 50 years of my life after that? You know, hopefully you're going to marry someone and you'll be married to them forever, hopefully. And so you have all those years to figure out what it is that makes you happy. And if your goal is that, then it's much easier to set the boundaries for those previous years, because you can say, all right, yeah, no, not interested in sleeping with every boy who shows some interest in me, or letting him have a piece of me that really should be guarded as special. I guess some of the last things I want to leave with you is, you could be watching this video and it could be that you think, I've already done all those things, and so this video isn't really helpful for me because I already put those boundaries way too far out and we've already achieved all those things and I'm 15 or 16. And the truth is that I don't think that any girl should live in shame and guilt. I think that guilt is there for a reason, to motivate you to make better decisions. But I don't think you need to live in a private world of guilt and shame. And I think at any point you can reinvent who you want to be. And it's harder, absolutely harder, if you have already gone the full gamut with somebody and then you try to date again and you try to say holding hands and a kiss is really going to be kind of as far as we go. It's hard to unwind all that you've learned and all that you've been through. But the truth is, at any point you can decide, this is the kind of girl I'm going to be from now on, and if it's baby steps, whatever I have to take in order to get to that place where I'm that girl, because I want to see long range. I want to see my future. I want to have those dreams, you know, happen for me. And so that's what I want to encourage you with, is that whatever your past held, that doesn't have to have a hold on your future. And you can change at any time what it is that you want to see for yourself in your relationships with boys, and you can make those decisions all along the way. That's the beauty of life. There wasn't a single girl that I knew that had sex in high school that didn't regret it. Every single one of them regretted it, because no matter how wonderful the relationship is at the time, at some point it breaks up. And it leaves a scar in your heart, because what a girl offers to a boy is very different than what a boy offers to a girl in that kind of a relationship. And you can't be intimate with someone like that and not have a scar left on your heart. Do you learn things? Absolutely. Can those decisions carry you into another relationship that might be a lot healthier? Absolutely. But every time you allow someone into that most intimate part of who you are, your heart is a little bit more scarred than it was the time before. And you allow that to happen again and again and again. By the time you get married, it's very difficult to allow the person you're married to penetrate that part of your heart that really should be open and willing and accepting of all that that person now has to offer you, which is, you know, a beautiful form of love that you have when you're married. And you want to be able to give all of your heart to that person and not have a million little scars all over the heart that you're offering him. And so I guess in general, when do I date? It's a whole lot of way of saying, when do
Yeah.
I date? And, you know, we sort of feel like anything, well, at least I sort of feel like anything up until about age 15, I feel like you're just learning about boys. Learning about what makes a boy tick, not in an individual private way, but just sort of what makes up a boy and how he thinks and all of those things. And then I'd say when you're 15, I don't really see any problem with group dating. As long as you're careful about your group dating, you feel like you're going out with other people that are responsible and you know, you have 6 people or more or something all going out to a movies, great. Go out to the movies together. I mean, that's kind of the slow progression of how you get used to how to be with a boy. And then from 16 to 18, I don't see any reason why you can't date individually, one-on-one. But again, you have to think of, are we alone a lot when we're doing this? Or are we in public places where I can keep my boundaries safe? And ultimately, hopefully, what you'll discover from the time that you're dating is what you want in your future.
Mm-hmm.